everybody, welcome back. Check this out. I don't know if you can, like, this light isn't like the best, but I quit coloring my hair. You know, like, why bother, because we're all inside anyway, and I didn't want to waste, I have those, like, gloves for hair dye, but I figure I better keep those in case we need them for more important things. And then, excuse me. Also, during swimming season, I usually stop dyeing my hair anyway, because if I'm going to be in the pool, then, you know, there's no point. But, sadly, we haven't been able to go in the pool because it's been really rainy and cold. So we're hoping soon the weather will get better and we can swim. But anyway, look at that. I'm so gray, though. I'm so old. They say you're only as old as you feel, so I'm like 12. I don't know. Anyway. The reason we're here. This one. A Study in Scarlet Women by Sherry Thomas. Which is a take on Sherlock Holmes. Which is why it was recommended to me. Somebody who knew I read and write Sherlock Holmes stories said, oh, you're gonna love this one. And I did actually enjoy it more than I thought I would. But we'll talk about that. So the overall conceit is that Sherlock Holmes is actually a woman named Charlotte Holmes. When she falls on hard times, she kind of has to make her way in the world, and she uses her brilliant brain to help Scotland Yard. But since she knows she won't be taken seriously as a woman, she pretends to be Sherlock Holmes. This isn't a cross-dressing kind of thing. It's more like she pretends to be Sherlock Holmes' sister and pretends like Sherlock Holmes is ill and that she's running information between people asking for Sherlock Holmes' help and this, you know, brother that doesn't exist. Anyway, it's kind of convoluted. The author did a lot of kind of gymnastics to take the elements of Sherlock Holmes, like there's a Mrs. Watson rather than a John Watson, and this kind of thing, and that's kind of the point at which I'm like, why bother? Why not just create your own character? And I know a lot of people use Sherlock Holmes for marketing reasons. I mean, it sells, right? So, I don't know. The first half of the book was harder for me to get through than the last half. Once I hit about the 50% mark, it went much faster because it got a lot more interesting. The first half of the book, because this is the first in a series, the first half of the book is mostly setting up Charlotte and her circumstances and all this other stuff. And the mystery part is, it really doesn't kick in until later. And also, since Charlotte's not an active character, I mean, Sherlock Holmes, obviously very cerebral character, but he also went out and did a lot. Or he and Watson did, or he would, you know. And in this case, Charlotte doesn't. So for any of the footwork in this mystery, we're following an inspector from Scotland Yard who's going out and acting on Holmes's, like, information. And so, yeah, like, your main character's not a super active one in this book. And I don't know if that changes. I don't know if I will read any more in this series. I guess if I came across the books at the library, I might pick them up and just see, but I don't feel like driven to go read more of them right this minute or anything. There's like this weird romance thing going on between Charlotte and a childhood friend of hers, Lord Ingram, who is married, but it's an unhappy marriage, and she kind of wants to be his mistress, I guess, or something. I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me. It's not that I didn't believe in the chemistry between the two, because I did. I think that was fairly well written. I just didn't see the need for it. But apparently Sherry Thomas, I found out after the fact, started out as a romance author. So maybe she just, can't help herself. I don't know. Like, she's like, I gotta have some romance in here. So yeah, so I ended up giving it 4 stars on Goodreads. It would have been 4.5, but the end solution to the whole mystery, as it were, kind of came out of nowhere and was hand-fed to people via an explanatory letter. And I was like, really? Like, they didn't even really go all the way to the end of solving the mystery themselves. A lot of what they didn't know was just like written in a letter to them at the end of the day. And so I was like, yeah, I gotta take points off for that. But it's not a bad book. And I thought it was well written. I always, after I read a book, inform my own opinion and do my review. I like to go and read other people's reviews to see if anybody else had the same issues that I did with the book. And in this case, like, a lot of people said it wasn't well written or it was confusing. And I will say the first few pages, I had to read them like a couple times. There's like a little prologue, but then the first time we see Lord Ingram, I was really, really confused about the point of view change and stuff. And I had to read that a couple times to understand. And there were, I noticed this, there were some editing issues, and the book needed maybe one more edit, proofread, actually. Not an edit so much as a proofread. But yeah. So, people who are picky about those kind of things might have had issues. I don't know. So yeah, not a bad book. Again, like, I always kind of hesitate when people grab Sherlock Holmes and, like, twist the character to suit their own personal, whatever. But, like, it was okay. Anyway, oh, sorry. The cat's loving on the computer. He's, like, rubbing on it. Crowley, you want everybody to see you? Come here. Oh, it's my baby. Baby. Ooh. Say hi. He's a sweet boy. He's my sweetie. He's my sweet baby. Sorry, I am, like, ridiculously in love with my cat, by the way. It's like, it's dumb. He's sniffing the microphone, so I don't know if you can hear it, but if you're wondering, that's what's happening. So that's it for books. You can, like, stop the video now. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about my puffiness, because, so I have a liver dysfunction. It's called focal nodular hyperplasia, which is a really long word for the fact that I have, like, this benign tumor in my liver. They don't like to call it a tumor because tumor is a scary word. So I've heard it called a nodule. I've heard it called a lesion. I've had it for years, but recently it's gotten bigger, and I was in the midst of a bunch of healthcare stuff when pretty much all the craziness hit and people are staying home. So I'm not entirely well. I'm not sick. This is not something like cancer, or it can't turn into cancer. The way they describe it to me is almost like scar tissue in my liver, except that it's growing. And unfortunately, some of the side effects of liver dysfunction includes, like, this kind of puffy, because it's part of your digestive system. And so this puffiness, loss of appetite, palms itch all the time now. It's kind of crazy. At least I'm not turning yellow. Like, I don't have jaundice. But between not being able to get out and get a lot of good exercise and managing the pain from this and, dealing with the fact that my liver is not 100% behaving the way it should, and, I need, like, more makeup maybe, and concealer here or something. I don't know, facelift. I think when I turn 50, I want a facelift, but that's just me. Anyway, that's just a little side note about what's going on here in our house. Luckily, we are all so far well and healthy. We are staying in as much as possible. We are having stuff delivered rather than going out. We play in the backyard when the weather permits. We've done a couple of small neighborhood walks, but we do try not to do that. We're trying mostly to stay away from everyone. We live in a neighborhood full of mostly retirees. There are a few other families, a street or two away, but our house is in a part of the neighborhood that's mostly older couples. So we're, just keeping our distance because I have had a cough. I just come off of antibiotics for that. And my husband has a cough. The kids so far, nothing. And, no fevers or anything. So we're just in case, we're staying in, we're staying home. I have the right temperament for that. I could quite happily just stay in or go outside and read when it's nice. Unfortunately, I think the kids and my husband are starting to get a little bit of cabin fever. So, I'm like, I've got cross stitch, I've got Sudoku, I've got books. I'm teaching the kids French and making sure they get through their, distance learning schoolwork stuff. And my husband's working from home. Luckily he has a job where he can do that. And so we're very fortunate in a lot of ways that we're just able to do this, just able to hole up literally and stay home. But I know for a lot of people that's not possible, or it's a lot harder. So I hope everyone is staying as safe as possible. I know it's hard. We live near a park, like a state park, I think, or city park. I don't know. It's anyway, you can't get near it. There are so many people there. Cat, what are you doing? My cat is trying to get... So I made a droid at, like, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where you can build a droid. I built a droid, like a little R2-D2 unit, and my cat is trying to get to it because he loves it. When I turn it on and it starts going, the cat loves it. So if you're hearing him in the background, it's him trying to get into the box that the droid lives in. Anyway, yeah, there's so many people who've been at the parks that they're now having to close our parks because they're like, guys, you can't be doing this. Like the whole point is not to be out. But anyway, it's been crazy. I hope I hope wherever you are, you're staying safe. You're staying inside as much as you can, if at all possible. You're reading some books. Excuse me. Ordering some books, reading some books. Finding ways to I've been Zooming with friends just to stay in touch and see people. I haven't been able to write as much as I would like, mostly because it's hard to focus for long periods of time. I don't know if I think other people I've talked to have been having similar issues where that's really hard. But we've been we're watching Picard now. We're finding new anime to watch. I've got a bunch of new manga to read, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, it's just everybody just take care, be good, make good choices, as we say to the kids when they're little, right? Ganbatte, do your best. And hopefully I'll read another book and have more to talk about soon. I've got a stack of them. I just gotta decide which one I want to pick up next. If you have recommendations, let me know in the comments. Because I can always just order books from Amazon or whatever. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.